It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Magical day to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Benning, and I will be your host for this magical, robust lifestyle show. I would like to thank each one of our listeners that is listening to this podcast on the numerous different platforms. I am so very grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. And you are all in for one magical show today, as I have with me my amazingly returning diva, Gia Raquel. And her and I are going to chat about Tune Into Your Intuition, Part 2. Oh, will this ever be one magical show? And with that, Gia, would you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Hi, Joyce. Thank you so much for having me back. It's always just a wonderful experience to be here and share this time with you. So I am very grateful. As grateful as you are, I am eternally and equally grateful. So thank you for having me. My name is Gia Raquel, owner of Airs Above Yoga, and I attempt to heal as many species and wonderful beings as I can in my daily life through yoga, Reiki, meditation, energy work, crystal healing, all of those things. So whichever modality resonates with, or whichever modality I'm called to use to resonate with whomever it is that I'm working with, I feel very blessed to be able to share that and hopefully help to heal the collective and anyone who comes into my field that it might be in need of healing.
Oh, that is just beautiful. I love that. And you have so many different ways you do that, because if one doesn't quite resonate with someone, they can look at another one. And there's just so many different modalities that you are offering to this world to help make it a better place and to help people and their animals feel so much better in this life. So I love it, Gia. And
Thank you.
I just love our chats. They are so much fun all the time.
I couldn't agree more.
So how would you like to open up today as we continue on our Tune Into Your Intuition show?
So hopefully people will have heard our last show because we definitely, I'll say we kind of skimmed the surface because it's such a deep and complex and large subject. But essentially, it's the idea of going from the active intention setting to the receptive intuition receiving, right? So receiving those messages from the, I will say, outer world, from source, from God, whomever it is that you might receive messages from, your higher self, depending on your belief structure. Again, this is a non-denominational conversation that we're having, but you do have to have, I'll say, faith in a higher power of some sort, whether it's your own soul, whether it's source, whether it's God. Again, you have to have, it's coming from somewhere, right?
Mhm.
So following that, trusting in that, believing in that is I guess step one. And step two, as we've talked about in the past, is I like to think of any form of meditation as a practice to open yourself up to either your intention setting or your intuition receiving. Because if you think about it from that standpoint, no matter what, you have to be still and you have to be centered within yourself in order to receive or intend consciously and with awareness, and so that it actually permeates the cell structure in your body when you're setting an intention. So in my mind, the meditation is kind of like the open doorway to the secret garden, if you will. So it opens you to whichever you're trying to do, whether you're manifesting to create the life of your dreams or whether you are trying to be guided to your purpose through your intuition. These are all just ways that the practice of a meditation, breath work, stilling the mind, can start to begin to bring you into that space to receive. So I just wanted to touch on that out of the gate so that people kind of have a basis from where we left off the last time, because I know we had an extensive chat about that kind of mindset.
Oh, yes. And that is so true. When you set that intention and then you open yourself up to receive the messages, and from wherever forever it may be, whichever higher power you receive them from. It is it is such a beautiful experience. It is truly magical, is what I call it.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing, right? You get to watch the magic happen as it starts to
Mhm.
actually work for you in whatever aspect it is, and the little synchronicities and the little confirmations that you may or may not experience that even surprise you, right? Like welcoming those pleasant surprises where, something small happens over here and then you realize that it was connected to something else that happened over there, and maybe not everyone recognizes it, but you recognize it as something that you were able to, connect, bring into existence, and share. So I think that that's a really wonderful way to look at it. I also think that, when we're talking about receiving intuition, and the different modalities, there are a lot of ways to set yourself up. And I want to talk to the type A people, right? We are both women who are fond of horses, and I think that general, I'll call it life calling, pastime. I won't call it a hobby because if you have horses, it's kind of all consuming. But I can attract a certain type of type A person, not across the board, but definitely people that are in competition have a certain drive about them, I'll say. And
Mhm.
so I think that people that have a hard time quieting their mind, stilling their mind, and coming to, let's say, a meditation practice or a way to access intuition that way, that's where I think yoga and the physicality of the body can start to create a bridge between the active day to day and the passive and the receptive. And that's what I think is huge. And that can also be any form of physical activity. So I don't want to force quote unquote force people into the idea of meditation without giving them a way to get from where they are, because we talked about it last time, meet people where they are, from where they are into that space. So I think connecting with your body from being in the outside world, being at work, being with your family, being at the bar, being wherever you are, coming from the outside world into your internal world, connecting with your body is the first step, whether it's walking with your dogs, whether it's riding your horse, whether it's coming to your yoga practice, whether it's going even potentially to the gym and lifting weights, connecting your body and starting to bring your awareness into your body is the first step. And then from there, you can begin to bring your awareness to that still place.
So I so agree
Yeah.
with you because you have to connect to your inner body first, or otherwise the world and your mind, your ego is so busy going, it kind of lets you skip by that small voice of your intuition talking to you. So, yes, I totally agree. You have to connect to your body first.
And so once you're able to do that, and then you kind of hopefully, and a lot of it, I know this may sound a little bit tongue in cheek, but the tiredness, the physical exhaustion that you feel after exercise of any sort actually helps you quiet your mind.
Hmm.
One of my favorite things to do is to put people in a balance pose and then ask them whether or not they're thinking about the next thing, the grocery list. They're probably not, because they're trying not to fall. And that's one of the best ways that I try to take people that are all in their head and bring them into their body, is to put them in a balance pose, because it really does. Well, forces, again, there's that word. It forces you into your body and out of your head.
Hmm.
And like I said, that's the first place. And then when you go through, let's say, a lengthy yoga practice, or you've been riding your horse in the field for an hour and a half, a couple hours, and you come back, there's a sense of physical exhaustion. And that physical exhaustion takes that spiraling in the mind and generally stills it and calms it a bit. So when we're talking about that, that's kind of a cheat sheet, a quick way to start to calm the mind for people that may have, a problem quieting down. So tire yourself out and get in your body is step one of how to begin the process. And then step two is as simple as focusing on your breath. That can be the most simple meditation. Your intention can be set to receive and connect with your intuition. You don't have to label it. You don't have to call it a higher power. Hopefully it's coming from a higher power, your highest self, but connect with your intuition and use that as your intention, so that you're actually beginning to access it from both sides.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And then might just add, for me, another great way to kind of calm that mind and connect to my body is go to my favorite space, my happy space, if you want to call it, is for me, it's out in nature with my animals. And then it's like, okay, now I can breathe. Now I can start to relax and connect back inside rather than everything that I've thought I have to be doing all day long. So that's just another way for me personally that I can connect back to my body and start to listen to my intuition better is going to my happy space.
And actually, I'm so thrilled that you said that because that's almost the next step once you get into deeper meditations, is creating a happy place in your mind, a happy place that you go to. And as you start to drop in, and we're talking about people that might be have a standard meditation practice that are past the breath, past the mantras, or maybe using them as stepping stones to get to that deeper. Like when we talk about visualization and we talk about getting to a place in your mind that is your happy place or your safe space, I'd like to call it a safe space because a lot of times when you start to go into deep meditations, you can, you want to be grounded on your way in and you want to ground yourself on your way back out because you use your mind and you start to visualize things. So a lot of times, and I'll just say this for the people that may try this as a little with disclaimer. If you decide to visualize a place or a space in your mind in your meditation, one thing that you need to do is start it from sitting on the earth and having your back grounded into a tree of some sort. Start and end at a tree. Imagine the most beautiful tree, whatever tree comes to your mind is the correct tree for you. And imagine yourself sitting at the base of that tree with your feet in the ground, whether it's moss covered, whether it's flowers, whether it's grass, whether it's the roots of the tree, literally feeling in your mind's eye, feeling in the back, the support and the weight and the sturdiness of that tree behind you. That is where you want to enter any sort of safe space meditation. And that is where you want to come back to, and then make sure you ground yourself back in your body when you come out of that meditation, because it's very important as you go deeper into these things to make sure that you are grounded on the way in and grounded on the way out. And then your safe space can be whatever comes to you naturally. If it's a meadow, if it's for me, I have a waterfall in my safe space. Do you know what I mean? But it's the place, it's kind of your next step. It's your next step from the quietness and the stillness of the mind. So I wasn't even planning on going there today, but naturally that's where we went. So I just want to say that for anyone who does decide, oh, that sounds cool, let me try that. Make sure that as you breathe, as your mind stills, that the first thing that you imagine, and you always have to use your imagination, right? And it's correct. But create a safe space for you as you fall deeper into your meditation practice. So let's just throw that disclaimer out there. Have you ever had any experience with like the visualization in your mind's eye of the safe place?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
It's beautiful. It's just beautiful
Yep.
when you visualize it. And
Yeah,
and each time it's almost like it gets more beautiful because you bring in more beauty to it in a lot of ways.
exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
what's so beautiful. And it just kind of brings in, and I'm just gonna kind of, when we say, you said at the very beginning, kind of some signs and stuff. Well, this morning, Minka and I were going out to out around the creek area and to take care of some cattle and stuff, which is a beautiful place for me. And what do I find? But my angels had the most beautiful feather laying on the ground. And it was like, here's my sign, the beautiful feather and going into the beauty of nature. And it was a sign to me. Now, maybe to someone else it wouldn't be, but to me, it was a sign that the angels were saying, you're in the right place. You're seeing the beauty that's all around you. And here's a beautiful feather to prove it.
I love that. And for me, I mean, for me, it's different. I have a thing for dragonflies, so we're gonna just take a little diversion. I have a thing for dragonflies, and I've had it since my grandmother passed back in 2016. And I happened to go up to my friend has a house in the Adirondacks on a lake. And I was up there and we were paddleboarding, and this beautiful red dragonfly landed on my paddleboard. And then on that same trip, we were sitting on the boat, and maybe it was the same one, maybe it was a different one. Another red dragonfly came over and landed. I think it was on my shoulder, very close to my shoulder, because I was kind of arm resting on the boat. Um, and I started looking up online what that meant, right? Spiritually speaking, what that meant. And it was basically saying that, a loved one or someone was visiting you, essentially. And my grandmother had recently passed. I think it was over that summer. So, it was very touching to me. And it was since then that I look for, or they find me. I have this connection with dragonflies. So anytime I go somewhere or I feel like I'm on the right path, I was even in Barcelona, and this huge dragonfly flew by, to the point that everyone around me, I happened to be at like an Irish pub in Barcelona, so they were English speaking, and they said, "We've never seen a dragonfly here." And I was like, "That's my dragonfly. It's fine." It was this big, huge green dragonfly. And the same thing happened to me in Manhattan. I was walking with some friends in Manhattan, and this giant dragonfly flew past us. And everyone looked around like, "That's very weird." I was like, "I know, it's okay. Just pump the brakes. It's fine." But it was so funny because I recently moved my horse from one barn to another barn. And if you know anything about that, he's been at the same place for over 3 years.
Oh,
It's a very big move for him. It's very stressful on a horse to move. It's very stressful for the human leading up to the move, and very stressful for the horse during the move. And he's older. He's about 20. So I was hemming and hawing about the decision. And the long story short is, it was so funny. When I left the barn, there was a dragonfly flying at the barn. And I said, "Oh no, what if I'm making the wrong decision? This is not like, oh my goodness. What if I'm not, there was nothing wrong. It was a beautiful place. He loved it there. There was nothing bad about it." Um, and so I started to hem and haw, and when we got to the new barn, which is only 10 minutes away, um, we unloaded him, we put him in the stall, and we came out. And when I tell you, Joyce, there were more dragonflies swarming around that I don't even like to use, because they're so beautiful. I like to use the word swarm. It has like a negative connotation, but to the point that my trainer, who knows this about me, and the barn owner, who's also a very successful trainer, we all stood outside and looked. And I said, "Do you see? I've never in my life seen so many dragonflies in one place. There were like 100 of them. It was insane." So I love that you shared that about the feather. And I think these are those synchronicities. These are the universe, whatever you want to call it, communicates in symbols. I've heard that a lot. I
yes,
think a lot of
yes,
people, if you tap into, this kind of realm of conversation, that is a big thing. You see things, you get symbols, you associate, and I've always said that dragonflies let me know when I see them that I'm on the right path
yes,
in
yes.
whatever form. Whether they could be on a mug, they could be, like I saw one on a little ceramic thing in a house, in a listing that I have, because I also do real estate as well. So little things like that. And these are the types of things for you. Whatever for you this morning, it was a feather. For me, it can be, I saw a bluebird on my walk with my dogs this morning, and I love a bluebird. They're just so
Yeah.
wonderful.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But these are the types of things. So when we talk about intuition, because I know we kind of, took a hard left, but when we talk about intuition, these are the types of confirmations, I think, that help support you on your path. Because let's face it, Joyce, when you're starting to get into this, we don't necessarily know what we're looking for, right? I didn't when I started. I mean, we're going back to about 2016. That's almost 10 years ago. And it was probably not my yoga journey. I've been doing yoga for a very, very long time. Since, 08, something around there, where I really got into it.
Mhm.
But to start to tap into those, I'll say higher realms, if you'd like, it does, there is an element, no matter what, of faith, and there has to be,
Mhm.
right? And so trusting yourself, and to trust that your intuition is right and correct and true before you see a sign of it in reality, in the real world, in air quotes, in the real world, it's a leap of faith.
Mhm.
And it's about trust. And it's about trust for yourself. And it's about trust in your higher self.
And trust, I love that you said that, because trust, I feel, is personally in my life, it's something that has been a struggle to trust, be it myself, be it others. Trust often seems to be a word that comes into my life a lot. And you have to trust, and like you said, take that leap of faith and trust that what you're doing, just like you moving the horse to the barn, another barn, you had to trust that you were making the right decision. And then the signs of the dragonflies came in, and it's just like it's stepping stones that we go through to make that decision, and then to see all the signs showing us that that is the right decision when we trusted what our intuition was telling us. So yes, yeah, trust is huge, and I think it is with a lot of people.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I don't think anyone gets through their life without getting their heart broken, being betrayed, and
Yeah.
whatever that looks like in whatever way. That's, part of life. It's all a learning experience, right? That's kind
Mhm.
of that's the gist. We're all here to learn something. We don't may not know what it is, but we're all here to learn something, and we try to figure it out as best we can along the way. But I think that the idea of intuition is is beginning, like, if nothing else, you have to trust yourself.
Mhm.
If nothing else, and I think it is so hard
Yeah.
for us to trust ourselves. When we get past the point of being parented, right? You trust your mom, or you trust your dad, or you trust the person that took care of you when you were little and taught you how to be in the world, whatever that looks like. Everyone's families are different. And hopefully you're blessed to have some form of adult who guides you. And once, you start to enter the world and you're on your own, hopefully you have some sort of a safety net to fall back on. But if you don't, at a certain point, you may not. And once you're there, you really have to trust yourself. And I think so many people, and thank you for sharing that with me. It's a vulnerable thing to say that I struggle with trusting myself. It's a vulnerable thing to admit that. And I think that everyone trusts themselves less than they claim to,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I
right?
I would agree. Yes, definitely. And my horses have been very much a part of learning to gain that trust. I've learned to trust them, and they've learned to trust me. Because I know so many people say when they get a new horse, well, we've got to get used to them. And I'm like, you've got to you've got to gain each other's trust. They have to know that you're a safe place too, just like you have to know that they will keep you safe. So yeah, trust is huge. I think we can do a whole show on that.
I think we are naturally evolving into our next topic of conversation. Yes.
I
But I think
agree. Mhm.
I think there's nothing, I think, and I've said this forever, there is no relationship like the human equine relationship.
Yes.
There is no, that is a flight animal allowing, I've said this to you before, I know I have,
Mhm.
flight animal allowing a predator to mount it and ride it
Mhm.
and create a relationship. There is, I mean, maybe arguably elephants where in lands where there are elephants, that's the only other, and they are so big that I think there's a little bit of a distinction. I would say that the human equine relationship goes back for, since they were domesticated, right? I mean,
Right.
just
Right.
many, many
Forever.
moons ago.
Yes.
And as they, even though quote unquote they are beasts of burden, there is, when you get to an evolved place with them where it is that give and take and that trust, I mean, you're putting your complete and total faith in that animal not to harm you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I I agree completely, because they are massive. I mean, in a lot of ways, your average horse. And I'm all over mine. I mean, I can lay on them. I can love on them. I'm walking behind them. I've one of them, I've walked underneath him because I trust him. Now I wouldn't
Yep.
do it on the other two, but I know that one I can. So
Yep.
it's just, yeah, that equine human relationship. It is truly magical.
Absolutely. It really is. And with the horse that I just moved, it was funny because I know I mentioned I went through my neck injury. And I thought it's been almost 2 years moving to, and I couldn't ride. And it was talk about a struggle with it. I couldn't really find anyone else to ride him, and I would have to pay my trainer to ride him because he couldn't be completely out of work, but he had his own injury. And so it's been a very challenging year for us. And I remember speaking to a woman who I admire and respect very, very much, and just saying, I've thought about moving him on. I've thought about finding him another home because it's not fair to him. And he's been basically on turn, like semi-retired on turnout for a year. And I said, and I don't know what to do. And she said, and I said, and for me, I may never get on another horse again. I have a neck injury. What if I fall off? What if I, you never know. I mean, it's not their fault, but it can still be a potentially unsafe
Yeah.
sport right? So, and she just looked at me and she said, well, maybe there's a reason he hasn't moved along. Maybe
Mhm.
you were supposed to get back on. And I said, I don't think I could ever trust another horse the way that I trust this horse.
Mhm.
And I said, so if I were to get on again at all, I said, I would be getting on this horse.
Yeah.
And here we are. And I cantered the other day down the long side for the first time in almost 2 years. So I think the universe, quote unquote, God, whomever it is, can send messages to you.
Mhm.
And even though it might have been through another person, I think that that's a blessing. And again, when we're trying to circle it back to what we were actually talking about today, when we're talking about that intuition, sometimes when you overthink, you can blind yourself to it.
Right.
So my focus in those lower vibrations of fear of, not being able to take care of him or not being able to do what I want with him or his well-being or my well-being, and that negative spiral. And it just took one person to say, but what if this?
Mhm.
And it changed, it just shifted the whole mindset. And in a way, I think that is still a form of intuition. Anytime you bring yourself from that lower vibrational fear, lack place up into the good what if, right? What if could go either way, but into the good what if. Make it a good what if.
Mhm. Well, and I see it too as that person sparked that intuition that was inside of you that knew, no, you don't want to get rid of him. He's happy. You want to keep him. But it was your mind that was saying otherwise and putting the other thoughts in. But when she said that, to me, what I hear is your intuition was sparked, and that small voice that we tend to sometimes put down inside, you were now listening to again. And that is my perception of hearing that little story, is sparking your own intuition inside of you again.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And I think, again, that's one of the reasons why when you were talking about the feather and I mentioned the dragonflies,
Mhm.
as much as intuition it's still receiving, you're still receiving
Yes.
messages. But
Yes.
if I can leave us with this one thought, because we talked about how to set yourself up to do it, right? Giving instructions,
Mhm.
tire yourself out. Start a breathwork meditation, start to ease your way, find a safe space. All of these are ways. But the other thing is, be receptive in your everyday,
Mhm.
right? We talk about getting out of your everyday to be receptive, but the magic happens all around. And for you, you are out in your daily day to day, and that feather found you, and boom, it brings you right to that place. It's that
Mhm.
inner knowing. You knew that feather was for you. For me, I saw those dragonflies. I knew those dragonflies were for me, and it brings me right into a confirmation. So intuition, as much as it's you communicating with your higher self, whatever it is you have faith in and believe in, that same thing can come and find you wherever you are. And you have to trust in that.
Yes. Oh, how beautiful. Oh, that was just awesome. And especially as we're starting to come to a close, I have no idea where this time went. It was just like we started chatting and the time's up, and I'm going, what? It can't be yet. It was just beautiful. You left us with so many golden nuggets, Gia. And before we do close, I know our listeners, we have intrigued them now with talking about trust. And I would love to have you back and talk about trust or whatever else the universe wants us to chat about at that point in time.
Absolutely. Again, nothing gives me greater pleasure than flying through this time that we share together each and every time. That's how you know. That's you let it, like you said, you just let it flow, and it flows for us beautifully. So I would be honored. Thank you. I would love to be back. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Yes, it does. I agree. The flow is just there. And would you please share with our listeners the best ways to connect with you, Gia?
Absolutely. Thank you, Joyce. So, again, I own a small practice called Airs Above Yoga, and I have a website, airsAboveYoga.com. I'm on social media at Airs Above Yoga. That's AIRSABOVEYOGA. And that is also the same for my Gmail account, airsAboveYoga@gmail.com. I do distance Reiki. I do on Zoom yoga class. So even if you're not in the greater tri-state area, we can still do yoga together. And I obviously do distance healing on horses, dogs, humans, and the like. So I would love to connect with anyone and everyone that feels like they resonate with what I do.
Oh, thank you so much, Gia, for sharing that. That was awesome too. And when they hear this show and go, I need to connect with Gia, they will now know how to connect with you. And with that, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on Robust Lifestyle Show and wish you magic in each and every day till you and I connect again.
Thank you, Joyce, and wishing you blessings and all of the feathers and all of the love and joy for you and your wonderful animals and anyone that you love within your life.
Oh, thank you so much, Gia. That's beautiful. And with that, I want to thank all of our listeners for listening to this magical show with our amazing diva, Gia Raquel. Please share this show with your family and friends and check out all the other shows on divasthatcare.com with the many hosts that are hosting shows on there. And I want to also tell each and every one to have a very magical day. And remember some of the golden nuggets that Gia left with us. It all starts with intention setting. Be open to receiving the messages in each and every day. And look for those signs that are out there. And start by just watching, hearing your breath and by breathing and the grounding in the earth. Oh my goodness, that is just amazing. And finding yourself that safe place. And with that, I want to say, please be kind to all, including the animals. Give your animals a great big extra hug and share all your love with them. Until we connect again on Robust Lifestyles, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.